Hey folks, welcome to Mr. P's Film Review. Here I am in new digs. I've got some few posters behind me, and there will be more, and I'm here to give you a review of the newest release from Marvel, Captain Marvel, starring Brie Larson, Samuel L. Jackson, and Jude Law. This is the 21st film in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, and in this film, I see Brie Larson play Captain Marvel, who is part of an intergalactic fleet called Star Force. And they are up against a villainous group called the Skrulls, who are a bunch of shapeshifters. And we see another subplot where Captain Marvel has recollections of her being an Air Force pilot called Carol Danvers. Carol has no recollection of who she is, but she has flashbacks of her being on this intergalactic force. And she somehow ends up in 1990s America, meets a young Nick Fury, played by Samuel L. Jackson, and together these two team up to find out who she is and to help her stop this intergalactic war against the Skrulls. To say that there was hot anticipation of Captain Marvel is an understatement. Purely because at the end sequence of Avengers Infinity Wars, we see Nick Fury try to communicate with Captain Marvel. So everybody was like, okay, wow, who is she? What role will she play in Avengers Endgame? After watching this film, I can honestly say that I didn't leave the cinema feeling overwhelmed or leaving the cinema with excitement like, wow, that was a good film. I didn't leave the cinema with excitement the same way that I did when I saw Black Panther, Avengers, Infinity Wars, Avengers Assemble, Captain America Civil War, or Winter Soldier, or Captain America First Avenger, or Iron Man. This is not a bad film, but more importantly, it's not a great film either. There is still a lot to keep you entertained. And as an origin story, it's not the best that has come out of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. If you were to do a tally of every film within the Marvel Cinematic Universe, from the first Iron Man to present with Captain Marvel, it may not be in your top 5, it's not the worst, and it's certainly not the best offering from Marvel. Let's talk about the good points about this film that I like the most. Brie Larson as Captain Marvel, I thought she was great. There was some controversy about the fact that she was maybe too young to play the role, but she did a really, really good job with this film. I also like that we got to see more of Samuel L. Jackson in this film as Nick Fury. We got to see him as a young Nick Fury. We got to see him as a detective and how he climbed up the ranks of S.H.I.E.L.D. And it was really good to see the banter between Brie Larson's character and Samuel L. Jackson's character. These two worked very, very well together. The banter between these two was reminiscent of another film that Samuel L. Jackson did, which I thought was phenomenal, called The Long Kiss Goodnight. And the way that these two just interacted with one another, they made for a really, really good team. And it was one of the high points of this film for me. Also, the fact that this film was set in the 90s, and there's so many pop culture references to the 90s, I thought was great. It was really, really good. Somewhat reminiscent of Bumblebee, where it's set in the 80s. And to just see her interact with our 90s technology was reminiscent of Captain America Winter Soldier, where we saw how Cap was trying to fit in present day Washington, D.C. The visual effects in this film were superb. The de-aging of Samuel L. Jackson in this film was just incredible. And when you can't tell where visual effects start and where makeup ends, you know that a visual effects company has done its real job. Has done a really, really good job at impressing the audience. Goose the cat. Let me just tell you one word to describe that character. Wow. Goose the cat was really, really entertaining, and he made for some of the really, really good comedic moments in this film. It was very, very funny. There were some really, really good touches in this film, and it was reminiscent of Groot from the first Guardians of the Galaxy film. It didn't say much, but when it was on the scene, it was on the scene, and it was really, really funny. And there's a really, really touching sequence to Stan Lee in the opening sequence. And I'm not talking about at the start of the film, I'm talking about the opening Marvel sequence where they pay homage to Stan Lee. Beautiful. And as a film, this film is one of the most significant films in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. The fact that the film takes place in the 90s, you get to understand a lot. It connects a lot of dots. You find out more about Nick Fury. You find out how the Avengers Initiative first got its name. So there's a lot of dots that are connected within this film. And also the Skrulls in this film. And as they're shapeshifters, you sit back and wonder, when they're on scene, you wonder, okay, is that a Skrull or is that a real person? So it makes some really, really good guesswork in this film. Now let's start with the bad points, and there are a few. The pacing of this film is a bit bad. It does take its time to get going. And the flashback sequences can come across as being quite erratic, going from one scene to another, one scene to another, and there's no explanation as to why. And you're sitting there, you're thinking, okay, what's going on? And you kind of do get confused in the narrative of this film. And also, as an origin story, like I said, it's an entertaining one, but I know that Marvel have given us better origin stories in the past. And those are the only two criticisms I've got in this film. But other than that, there's still a lot to keep you entertained. It is laced with Marvel's trademark of snappy one-liners, good dialogue and charm. It's an enjoyable watch, and this film acts as the perfect buffer from Avengers, Infinity Wars, Captain Marvel to Endgame, which will be coming out in April. And also post-credit sequences. Why is it that when people leave the cinema, they leave the cinema at the credits, not knowing that there's going to be 2 post-credit sequences? And there are for Captain Marvel. The first one, easily the most significant. And I'm not going to spoil it for you, but it's a prelude to what to expect in the future. And it was a really, really good one. And then there's a second one, which I found to be quite funny. But with that being said, Captain Marvel, not a bad film, not a great film, but there's still a lot to entertain you. And Brie Larson did a really, really good job. And again, Samuel L. Jackson, always reliable on screen. So with that being said, I will give Captain Marvel a very, very strong 7 out of 10. Watch it just to enjoy it. And again, give you a little taste and to keep you tied over until Avengers Endgame comes out in April. So that's my review. If you like what you see, subscribe to this channel, follow me on Instagram. Leave your comments if you've seen Captain Marvel and what you thought about it, and I shall see you on the next film review with more posters behind me. Take care.